Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 002 of the Text Adventure Book Club from the Text Adventure Podcast. They're reversed. It's the Text Adventure Podcast. You know how many times I've called this thing the Talk Adventure Podcast when I'm like typing out Instagram captions or doing any of that stuff? It doesn't make sense, but I think Talk Adventure sounds a little good.
Yeah, I like it.
But this is not that. This is the Text Adventure Podcast from the Text Adventure Book Club. We read books about gaming and discuss them and talk about our lives and our experience in gaming and how they relate to the books. This month's book is Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. It is the triumphant, turbulent stories behind how video games are made. Jason Schreier is an investigative journalist. He was the editor-in-chief of Kotaku. He worked for Wired, New York Times, Taste, Killscreen. Now he is at Forbes. Bloomberg? Is that correct?
Bloomberg, I think.
Bloomberg. Okay. He's like the major voice in video game journalism these days. I absolutely loved this book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. This book discusses the creation of several video games from the mid-2000 era. It's got the stories behind Diablo 3, Destiny, The Witcher 3, Halo Wars, Uncharted 4, Shovel Knight, Star Wars 1313, Pillars of Eternity, Dragon Age Inquisition, and Stardew Valley. And as always, we have an absolute all-star lineup of guest hosts. We've got Dan Bethel.
Hello.
Sacramento's third most famous independent comic artist. He is the creator of he is the creator of Long John. Dan, how's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We've got former Navy seaman and the gentleman who makes the best Frappuccino in the Tri-County area, Adam Marcy.
Wow. Funny story. I actually made my wife a latte this morning with our home barista thing. So yeah, still doing it.
Wow. It's like riding a bike, you know, you never fall off.
Oh yeah, totally.
I was going to say, did you get your bathroom business taken care of before or after the latte?
I haven't done that yet.
Oh my goodness.
A weird day. It's a weird day. So I won't get into details, but
fair enough.
Well, it's funny. Last time we recorded though, the problem that we were having turned into a full-blown septic disaster over the week. So we got that taken care of. So we're good now. Hopefully nothing like that happens for a while.
I was going to say the funny thing about making lattes and frappuccinos and all those drinks we had to learn 20 years ago is that they all had, very much like Taco Bell, the same three ingredients, just prepared in different ways.
Yeah. It was really easy to kind of get the hang of it and learn it. It's like, oh, it's like this is the same thing as this. It's just with this. Oh, okay.
And once you see the amount of sugar in those drinks. We also have California's favorite son. He has signed NDAs a mile long. We've got Rock Clausen. Rock, how's it going?
You also forgot critically acclaimed voice actor. You can find my work.
Shit, add that.
Yeah. I'm in the audiobook sphere now. I just finished up Jazz Automaton for Amateurs. I just did an audiobook, The Amorous Adventures of Stanley Cavendish. So, yeah, really taking off.
Yeah, I didn't want to blow up your spot, but I'm glad. I hope you win those Webby Awards this year.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really campaigning hard for it.
And joining us later, who's running a little bit late, we've got star of stage and screen. You can catch him on The Gilded Age on HBO, Patrick Ronk.
Are we allowed to actually say that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's technically true.
Yeah, he's on that show. He's in every episode.
What?
Yeah, he is.
What?
Yeah. I think at this point we could probably say personal mentee of Nathan Lane, right?
100%. Close personal friend.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Confidant.
Pat is in almost every episode of The Gilded Age and sometimes plays more than one character per episode. I've never seen it, but I assume he does good.
I have never seen it. I assume he's great.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think he just kind of, I mean, we're going to tell his stories for him since he's not here.
There we go.
Like they film around here in like the Albany, Schenectady area. And I think, they kind of put out just a casting call, and he like kind of just as a goof went to it, and now he's done it for like 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
They're like, look at that
going
face.
extra. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
and like
Good for him.
it's always filmed in like July and August, and if you've seen the show or pictures of the show, they're always in very formal, like Victorian dress costume, and he has come close to passing out several times from the weight and the warmth of these costumes. I know one time he had a like how shirts used to be, the collar was a separate piece.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that the collar was so tight he could feel it cutting off the oxygen to his brain.
Hey, it's for the art, right?
Right. And you're an extra, so what are you going to do? You're not going to like complain. They'll shoot you.
I thought you were going to say like he actually lives in 1880s New York, and
He does.
just as that adept with technology to somehow join us to talk about video game books.
He's like Daniel Day-Lewis.
There we go.
He's a method actor.
He's just stepping through the time slip, man.
And I forgot to introduce myself. I am an award-winning independent bookseller. I once made Chuck Palahniuk cry actual tears.
Wow, did you really?
I did. We were hosting an event for one of his.
Okay, and you love
for one of his later books, which I don't know if I actually read, but I introduced him to a large audience, hundreds of people, terrified out of my mind. And I just kind of told the story of how, Chuck Palahniuk's books were like, those early books were really good. Fight Club, Survivor, Invisible Monsters. And those were like the first like adult books I read, like, later years of high school coming into early adulthood. And that was where I realized that like, books don't have to be old and boring. So I kind of told that story, and Chuck's a very sensitive guy, and it brought a little tear to his eye. So I also,
nice.
I really enjoyed that. I also once cried at Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells live
because it was so bad.
It's an emotional powerhouse of a show. How could you not?
Yeah,
I don't know if
you guys know Shredder. He's the bad guy, and he said he was going to steal all of our voices in the audience, and I didn't want that to happen. So I cried, and I cried so inconsolably that we had to leave the arena. Yeah, this was 2008.
Yep.
I think I say you cried so hard you lost your voice. You're like, oh shit, Shredder's power is massive.
It worked.
That would have been fucking funny as hell. Let's jump into the book here, guys. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, Jason Schreier. This book was phenomenal. I loved it. Going around the horn really quick, did you guys enjoy this book? What did you think about it? Did you enjoy reading it or listening to it more than our last book, which was Mike Drucker's Good Game, No Rematch? Dan, how did you feel about this book?
I loved this book. It was surprising to me because I've known about it for the years it's been out. When did it come out? 2017?
Oh, yeah, right around there. I also got it pretty early when it came out and read bits of it, and I definitely enjoyed it the second time around, too.
Yeah, it's a book I had never any real desire to read for some reason. Maybe because like I didn't know most of the games, and like I don't want to. I know he's as a journalist, he's really focused on crunch and writing stories about how studios rely on it. I'm like, I don't want to read a whole book where it shows how terrible the industry is. I kind of know that. I saw it to my surprise reading it for this book club. I was fascinated by this book. I loved it. And to your second question, I enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a different reading experience, but I as a book itself, I would definitely. I liked it more than Drucker's book.
Part of the reason that maybe you enjoyed this more reading it a second time is it's kind of good to get some space from these games.
Yeah.
Like when this book came out, these games some of them were pretty new.
Yeah, you're right.
And now it's like almost 10 years later, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Right, it was Destiny, right? Where he's like, we're still seeing how it goes.
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I really liked it also. Definitely liked it better than the other one. This is kind of like more along my line. I don't really read a lot of memoirs from people. So
Mhm.
like, the Drucker book was good just in the sense that it like, it ignited a lot of that old nostalgia and you got to think about, things you liked when you were a kid and stuff like that. But this was definitely more of like like you said, it's more, he's like a reporter and he's a journalist. So
Sure.
it's more well written, like, it's like a very specific subject. It's not just all over the place. So yeah, I did enjoy it more for that sense. You see all these games listed like in the table of contents and it's like, I wonder how, what's different about these. And he did a really good job of like picking a game that kind of had a different set of circumstances surrounding it during its development. Like when we talk through the chapters, we'll, kind of see how that panned out. But yeah, it was like really good. There was like, each game had like kind of a different take to it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that
which
was
was
really good.
interesting. So
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
me
for sure.
wonder. It makes me wonder if he kind of followed more games than are featured in this book and kind of picked out ones that were all different, or if it was just kind of luck of the draw, and each
Yeah.
game kind of had a different developmental history. Rock, how did you feel about Blood, Sweat, and Pixels?
I really enjoyed it. Like Dan, I had been aware of this book since before it came out, and it was, for me, it was one that I was always interested in, but just kind of never got around to. And it was, I really liked the selection. Also, I thought it was a really nice, not just a selection. That he covered. He kind of covers the whole spectrum of sizes of games, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
But also the emotional ride that it goes on. I thought it was just really well structured, and I mean, I imagine honestly that this probably took ages to write. I imagine it's, okay, one week I'm interviewing this guy from Obsidian, and tomorrow I'm going to interview the guy from Stardew Valley, and
Yeah.
3 months from now, I'll circle back to those guys and get some more. So I imagine it was probably a huge pain in the ass to write, but it came together so
100%.
well, and yeah, it was really good. I also definitely liked it better than Good Game No Rematch,
Mhm.
and in particular, I thought the reader, I don't know his name, I thought the reader was very good.
I thought that it was really well done. Sometimes reading journalism can be a little dry, but this is an excellent audiobook. All right, so guys, the games included in this book: Diablo 3, Destiny, Witcher, Halo, Uncharted, etc., etc. How many of these games did you play or try before you read this book? Had you played any of them, Adam?
I played Halo Wars. I've played Dragon Age Inquisition. I have played Destiny. And then after reading it, I actually downloaded Stardew Valley and I've been playing that.
Oh,
But
wow.
those are the only four that I have. Like I know of all the other games. Actually, I've never heard of Shovel Knight, so I looked it up and it looks kind of fun. But
Mhm.
yeah, I've only played like 3 or 4. So yeah.
Rock, what about you? What's your experience with these games?
Oh gosh, let's see. I played, definitely have played Pillars of Eternity. Really enjoyed that one. That's like right up my alley. Like you guys all know, I'm a huge old school like Infinity Engine guy. So that was,
Mhm.
yeah. Honestly, I played Destiny. I haven't played Uncharted 4.
Sure.
And
You have the general sense of what Uncharted is.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing here that was like, oh, what the hell's this? Like
Right.
I'm aware
Right.
of all the, like, I've been in
Mhm.
video games for ages, so I've been aware of all of these for, forever. But
Right.
yeah, I actually surprisingly haven't played. I think maybe I have played half of the games in here or less even.
Did you get into The Witcher 3?
Yeah, dude, Witcher 3
Okay.
was my jam. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one I
I thought
probably
you
have the
played
most.
lots of hours of that.
Yeah, that one I probably have the
Mhm.
most exposure with from any of the other games in this book.
Were you a Dragon Age guy?
I only ever played the first one, actually.
Okay.
I love BioWare stuff, but
Right.
the first one, the first Dragon Age was kind of like a letdown. The
Mhm.
second one I only heard pretty negative things about. I think I own Inquisition through some means, but
Right.
never actually played it.
I think that the general consensus was that the first Dragon Age was kind of a letdown because they were coming off of Mass Effect at that point, right?
They were, but
It was a different BioWare team, maybe.
that I don't know, but I know that Dragon Age had been in development for years by the time it came out. It was kind
Mhm.
of like that team's big like passion project, and it was kind of their thing. Like, hey guys, you remember us? We did Baldur's Gate, and you guys really like that, so we're gonna do kind of like our own like spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate and like Dungeons and Dragons, and you just kind of change the name of everything.
Right.
It's pretty
right.
much just that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of a whole genre. It's just remaking.
I mean,
you know,
really,
that-
it's all remaking just Lord of the Rings. Like that's really
yeah, yeah, it's true. Dan, what was your experience with these games? Had you played many of them? Any of them?
I think actually that was also one of the reasons why I wasn't particularly interested initially to read the book, because a lot of these games I haven't played. The only one I've actually played all the way through was Shovel Knight, and
Oh wow.
yeah, I love that game. I spent 10 minutes in Stardew Valley. I think I own Dragon Age Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
I've played a fair amount of Witcher 3, but it's just, I mean, I didn't feel so bad that I'd never finish it, because in the book they're like, we want to make the longest game ever. I'm like, okay, fair. But yeah, that was it. Just mostly Shovel Knight and Witcher 3, but I've never touched Destiny or Halo Wars or anything like that. I have Stardew Valley. I might mention that anyway. But it's yeah, not many. And so that was one of the hindrances. I obviously love reading books about games that I've played, but I found the stories of these developers, as Schreier sort of describes them, very engaging. And but maybe ashamedly, I was not particularly inspired to pick up any of the games after reading the books.
Oh,
Although
really?
yeah.
I was going to say the opposite. I actually tried several of these games after reading about them.
Nice.
I hadn't played really any of these. I, was of course aware of most of them.
Right.
But I don't think I spent any significant amount of time in any of them. But I played through Uncharted 4 after reading this. Absolutely loved it. That's a fantastic game. You can see every dollar on the screen.
Yeah.
That's my only Uncharted experience, actually, is Uncharted 4.
Nice.
I of course followed Star Wars 1313 from the minute it was announced.
Yeah, of course.
And was, so looking forward to that, and was heartbroken when it was canceled. But so obviously I never played that, but I was definitely aware of it during its development cycle. I downloaded Destiny. I don't think that's for me, but I've always been interested in CD Projekt Red games. I own Cyberpunk, never played it, but the idea of those games is really intriguing to me. I mean, that seems like a company that absolutely loves what it makes. And I know without even touching it that Shovel Knight is not for me.
The description in the book I thought was pretty apt. It's basically Mega Man with like the NES DuckTales game kind of thrown in, with a lot of self-aware humor. Not meme humor, really. It didn't really come across like that, but it's very self-aware and very goofy. But in terms of gameplay, like it's got the really tight controls like Mega Man. And the NES DuckTales game, I don't know how many people here have played it, where you have the mechanic of being able to sort of pogo on, in this case, a shovel as a way to attack enemies. And like Zelda 2, they also talk about that. When you jump and you downstrike enemies, that's basically the main mechanic of Shovel Knight. It's if you like Mega Man style platformers, with a lot of, where the level is kind of the puzzle. You're not like flipping switches or anything, but platforming challenges and getting through waves of enemies. It's a real good time.
I just found out Shovel Knight is not Hollow Knight.
Did Shovel Knight not get out to the East Coast? Is that what I'm hearing?
I've
never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. Right.
I know it's a blue guy, but I could have sworn Hollow Knight was the same guy, just in a different color.
Not at all.
Interesting.
They probably would have. Would they have mentioned that in the book? When did Hollow Knight come out? No, but it
came out
a very
after.
different game.
Has there ever been another Shovel Knight game?
Dude, they have they capitalized on the success of Shovel Knight ridiculously, almost to an embarrassing point. Now, they mentioned in the book, part of the Kickstarter rewards is they basically released downloadable content where you could play. So like Mega Man, you have a bunch of different bosses you have to defeat before you can get to the end game. And each of these is very, like a Mega Man boss, very distinct. They have their own sort of theme for like there's Plague Knight and King Knight, which is weird. These little bosses, these bosses had their own little adventures. It wasn't you just playing through the game again as the knight. They had their own little quests, and they were all very different in terms of mechanics. Which is, they weren't just reskins of the Shovel Knight character where you have a melee weapon. Like Plague Knight, instead of melee attacks, you're throwing little little jars of, I'm guessing, poison or something like that. So it's kind of basically a ranged weapon kind of thing. And I played through one of those extensions and was surprised at how long it was. They basically released like 4 or 5 games as DLC on the success of Shovel Knight. But they released like a Shovel Knight puzzle game that I think through Netflix or something like that was super interesting. It was tough,
really?
But yeah, they released a bunch of stuff, and they've only recently announced their new IP that they're going to be making. But yeah, so since Shovel Knight released in whenever that was, a long time ago, up until I would say last year or the beginning of this year, all they had made, and they made a lot of games.
Is the new
all
IP Shovel Knight related?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So the interesting thing about Shovel Knight and is it Pillars of Eternity in this book is that they were both funded by Kickstarter,
right?
And were some of the early huge successes of game funding on Kickstarter.
I don't know. I've never looked at a game pitch on Kickstarter and thought I would pay extra ahead of time for this. I don't know. I just don't care. Like for me, it's like there's been plenty of stuff. Like I remember when Pillars of Eternity was like going through its campaign, and I remember like, wow, this is from like a lot of the people whose stuff I have enjoyed in the past. This looks really great. I guess I'll just wait and see. Like that's kind of how the strongest I've felt about any.
I've definitely seen games I'm interested in, but I always have that tickle in the back of my mind that it'll never happen.
Right.
Like it'll just take your money and disappear, which does happen kind of quite frequently on those crowdfunding platforms. Is that games either go into a development hell and they keep spitting out demos and betas and the full game never comes out, or sometimes they just completely ghost you and close up shop and you never get your game or your money's worth in the end.
Which seems entirely possible based on how this book describes game development.
Right. It seems more probable that you will not get the game
right.
than you will.
Or it'll be very different than what they promised, right?
Sure. I mean, the first game, the biggest game that I think we all became aware of first was that Double Fine Adventure game.
Yeah.
And I think that thing ended up like tripling or quadrupling its goal.
Yeah.
And they were doing like a documentary while they were making it and stuff. And I know even that game, despite getting 4 or 5, maybe 10 times their goal, had a pretty troubled development as well. It just seems like sometimes it did come out. Your budget can kind of get away from you,
right?
You know, where sometimes it might be easier to work for a smaller goal than a bigger goal, because then you have all these pressures of fans and customers who constantly demand feedback and progress reports. You know, the sense of that they're getting their money's worth,
right?
On top of the general development of it in the game, and you know all that pressure as well.
There's something also about like just different lenses when you're like there's a Kickstarter success, which is separate, like you're talking about, from game development. Like Double Fine Adventure, like they got $3 million or something like that. And you're like, wow, that's so much money. But then when you shift the focus to what game development is, like $3 million is apparently not very much, unless you're like
you're just churning through it.
Yeah, unless you're like the Super Meat Boy guys, where you're literally just doing it out of your home. It's just you two, or like the Stardew Valley chapter where the guys literally didn't do anything, but Stardew Valley. Those two kind of worlds are very different. Success on Kickstarter doesn't necessarily mean much or success or guaranteed success in game development, and so like the actual sort of Venn diagram doesn't line up or doesn't cross very easily. The Kickstarter side of things also can lead people to sort of over promising not just what's in the game, but like we saw with with Shovel Knight, where they promised all these add-ons and extras and different modes. I'm like, that's a lot of money on top of the money you need to make a game. And but when it's just an idea and you're all jazzed about making it happen, you can promise anything you want, obviously. Politics, but they after you have enough money to make the game, but then you have the whole extra burden of like, oh well, now we have to do all these other things we promised, and that's just going to take time away from working on the next game or whatever. And I've backed 2 Kickstarters. They've both come out. I backed Double Fine Adventure, and I backed the IGA, like Castlevania, like Bloodstained. And I know Bloodstained, like they're still releasing, I think, stuff that
they're doing physical copies. Last I saw,
right.
Yeah,
Mostly as a fundraising measure, I bet.
right.
But like, they're still releasing stuff. They, the extras. They're still working on the extras that they promised way back in the Kickstarter. I'm like, bro, even as a person that Kickstarter, I'm like, just stop. I want to do something else now, please.
Right.
You've paid your dues.
It's easy to blue sky ideas, especially when you see the number ticking up and up and up and up.
Right.
As a developer, but the problem is once you say that you're going to deliver those things, you're held to it.
I mean, one of the games that's not covered in here, but it's like a huge Kickstarter thing, is Star Citizen. That's like, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
The epitome of blue skying ideas and kind of promising everything and still not delivering. I actually would have really liked to have seen Star Citizen in this book, but I think that one of the main differences there is that everything that's in this book had some kind of a definitive end, whether it ended up coming out or not, where like Star Citizen is still ongoing, but they've raised like hundreds of millions of dollars through crowdfunding and stuff, and like pre-sale of ships and stuff, and that game's still not out, and in the state that they want it to be, probably won't be for some time, if at all. And that's like, I don't know, to me that's like one of the best like cautionary tales of crowdfunding.
100%. And just, I looked it up real quick, that started its crowdfunding adventure back in 2012.
Star Citizen.
Yeah, still not out.
Jesus.
And they well, and that's, I mean, I know this is a little bit off topic, but that's like a case of all of the supporters of the game, all the fans of the game, their big thing is like, well, no, this is great because like the guy running the project, like we don't have a manager on top of him telling him to cut stuff. We don't have these bosses coming in, and it's like, hey, like I say fuck the man like all the time. Like that is great.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes the manager is the reason you get a game. And
for sure,
because the people who are the creative ones or the idea people aren't always great managers. And that's what I think is really happening with Star Citizen and Chris Roberts. Chris Roberts is a great ideas guy, but he apparently doesn't know how to manage shit. So,
I mean, one of the things that's brought up multiple times in this book is the idea or concept that art is never completed; it is abandoned.
Right.
And you just got to abandon ship on the fucking games like Star Citizen or whatever, and just let that be its own thing. Unless you plan to just die with just developing that game for the rest of your life, but at that point you're kind of selling something different than what you originally pitched.
Kind of letting the inmates run the asylum kind of thing, where a lot of these people are generally, we would consider them, in terms of the type of work they do, creatives, but they have to run these companies. Like it's funny, even though I know the game came out and has done really well, reading the Witcher chapter, I'm like, guys, you got to start making decisions here, or else this game has never come out. Calm down. I mean, yes, that's the case with most of the chapters, honestly.
Adam, I know that you have pretty strong feelings about crowdfunding situations. Do you want to hit us with your thoughts on crowdfunding in general?
Are we getting?
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. No, I'm just kidding. No, crowdfunding, to put it simplistically and not sound like a grumpy old man.
Go on, girl.
Yeah, no, like when I see something, and because like I know what you're mentioning, because like on the other side of my like hobbies and my collecting and stuff is I collect like Star Wars action figures, right? And Hasbro has this dumb thing. It was a Hasbro Pulse or something like that, where they're like, hey,
HasLab,
right? And it's like, hey, we're gonna make this frickin' Star Wars playset, but we need X amount of people to give us money for it. And I'm like, F you, like if you want me to buy the thing, just make the thing. I'm not gonna invest in, you know what I mean? You're the company with the resources, and I kind of feel, and now obviously it's a little bit different with like what we're talking about here with these like really like indie game studios that don't have millions and millions of dollars of funding from like a parent corporation like Microsoft or something like that, but it kind of goes along the same thing. It's like, hey, if you back us, we'll make this game. And it's like, well, that's all well and good, and I get what you're doing, but like I'm just not that type of person that wants to gamble with my money like that. Like we kind of already kind of touched on that, but yeah, I have really strong opinions about that. And with the games, I'm not so like vehemently angry with them like I would be like Hasbro or like a big faceless corporation, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, I get what you're doing, and that's great, but I'm not gonna give you money. If you make a good game, I might buy it and play it, and that's what we'll do. But Yeah, I mean, and I thought it was great that these the ones that he talked about were successful and it worked and great. That's awesome. But yeah,
I do find the idea of Hasbro saying they need the customers to pay $2 million to fund a oversized, Star Wars ship to be like egregious, if really not hard. Just like criminal at a certain point.
That's really
like it's Hasbro, it's Disney, it's Star Wars. You're telling me you guys don't have $2 million to make this thing you want to make? Like either you're the professionals running this company. Either fucking judge your market correctly, or don't do it. I mean, the fact that you're relying on the common man who can't afford fucking groceries at this point in the economy to throw money at a life-size Ghostbusters backpack, it's fucking dirty as hell.
Anyway, look for the Long John Kickstarter coming in 2026.
Yep.
No.
Stretch goal: if they reach $75,000 in funding, they'll hire me to play one of the characters. So.
If you reach 100,000, Adam will come to your house and kick you in the nuts.
Actually, write that down. I have the same thing. I have the same sort of response when corporations do it. There's some like in the comic publishing world. Obviously, there's Marvel and DC, but some of the still big but smaller publishers, I think like Dark Horse or not Image, but some companies they're going to Kickstarter now to get
IDW
published. I'm like you're a company, my dude. Yeah. But yeah, and that's the one thing that always kind of rubbed me, even though I supported it. The Double Fine Kickstarter was like you guys are a company already. I can imagine like the Shovel Knight guys or the like the
Stardew Valley guy.
Stardew Valley, like when it's just individuals that are trying to make something happen. They just need time and money to do it. That seems to me what crowdfunding is all about, right? It's about helping each other out. But like, as much as I love some big companies, I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you guys have the money to do it. Right. Maybe your CEO doesn't get the bonus that they got that they want or expect. At least you can still make the thing, for crying out loud.
I mean, Pillars of Eternity was developed by Obsidian, who's a pretty big name in games.
That's exactly where I was going to go, honestly. Mm-hmm. But I will say, with Obsidian, those guys, at least during the time period that we're talking about, they always seemed like they were like one canceled project away from shutting down.
Right,
because
they were on the ropes.
They were strictly work for hire, and they were, you know what I mean? And I don't imagine any publisher was going to give them money to make that game. Like that was, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, they were proven right. Like there was a market for it. And I don't know. I've seen some companies in the past, they'll do like independents will do a crowdfunding campaign where they're like, hey, if we reach, X amount of funding on Kickstarter, then we have other companies that are committed to giving us the rest of the money, so basically like we need crowdfunding to, give us, basically show the investors that there's enough interest, and then they're going to kick in the rest, or, hey, this project is almost finished and we just need, a smidge to help us get over the line.
I'll start big, then I'll zoom in here. What I found really interesting about the book was it really, I guess my big takeaway, especially being skeptical going into it a little bit, it really is an interesting window into how varied and how stressful game development is. I'd always kind of known, generally, I wasn't naive, but like it showed there's no one way to make a game, right? There's no right way to make a game. That as long as it gets done, like we were talking about earlier, it works, right? So with that in mind, the one that surprised me the most, or that I liked the most, or found most interesting, was the Stardew Valley chapter. Just because, like, this guy this is a make or break kind of situation, because he is sacrificing life, relationships, career to make this game slowly, bit by bit, piece by piece. And just to see it come together, and I guess the thing that surprised me the most about it is that it came together. It was like 5-6 years he was working on it without having a job, like with the best
kind of crazy
you could ever have, for crying out loud. The most understanding person that let him work on this game without bringing in any income or socializing and stuff like that. It was a fascinating character study as much as it was a story about how the game was made. And it was
very The Shining at certain points.
yeah.
Where he's just like, he's hunched over the keyboard, just changing these pixel portraits 18 times in a row. And the girlfriend's like, will you please move on with this?
Right. Like genuine, like almost like stirring emotions at the end with just like the immediate success that he got. And like, that must be an incredible feeling, right? That just to see it all pay off was, I was just like, yay, dude, good for you. Because it's like by any metric, this shouldn't have worked. This shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't, or if he got it done after that long, it shouldn't have been good, because it just never happens that way. And to have it be a success story was really heartwarming. And especially, as an independent creator myself, I'm not saying like I would ever get that level of success, nor do I want it, but like, it's like, hell yeah,
right.
Just put your head down and nose to the grindstone kind of thing. It can work out. And
the idea that it was so sudden that he is in the end of the chapter, he's literally packing his car for PAX.
Right.
And he's got like, the car's broken. He's got like some stuffed animals in a bag.
Yeah.
And like $12 million in his bank account.
That's the thing, right?
With a roommate.
Right, right. Right. It's just that there's one day where he is basically broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Like,
crazy.
That's crazy. That's
I really appreciated the kind of I don't know, humbleness may not be the right word, but his just kind of like not really knowing what to do with his newfound success. He's just kind of like, I mean, I guess at some point I should buy a new car, or like, maybe I'll buy a house. Like, just very much just kind of like, I don't know, I have this success and I'm, like, here I am. I don't know. I really appreciated that. Like this he's just a real dude,
Yeah.
A real guy who it's the kind of people that you want to end up being rich.
One of the little guys made it,
Now, I don't want to rain on the parade here, but I installed Stardew Valley for the third or fourth time after reading this book, and I just fucking hate that game. I hate it so much.
It is similar. It is a game not for me. I know that much for sure. I have installed it. I think I played 10 minutes of it, and like, I'm not in the headspace for this kind of game. I don't know if I ever will be.
Now, Adam, you downloaded this game. Have you played a lot of it?
Yeah, I've like played it like 2 weeks straight. Yeah, I don't even know. It's funny because you guys are like, I hate it. But no, whatever it is, I don't know. It does something to me because I've struggled with like anxiety like my whole life. So there's just something about it that is like, it's just super chill, and it's kind of like what they were talking about with that Harvest Moon game that the developer and his girlfriend liked. You kind of just like make friends with people and you plant your crops, and there's nothing. It's not like this. There's high stakes here or anything. It's just a very like whatever it does, it soothes me. When I started playing it, so I'm like, okay, I'll just keep playing it. And actually, yesterday I think was the first day I hadn't played it in like 2 weeks or something. So yeah.
See, I think that lack of goals and skills and like signposting is what makes me not connect with it at all. Because I just like find myself walking around, and then like this guy wants me to fish, and then like I don't know what to do, so I just feel like a walking around in a circle. And I got lost in the forest. And eventually I just I quit the game, and I'm like, I don't think I'll go back to this again.
Right. No, I was gonna say, no, it's all right. That's like the weird part of the game too. When I first started playing, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I do this? And like, you kind of just have to like figure it out yourself almost. It's like really weird. But yeah, like I remember like they're like, oh, you got to make a chicken coop. I'm like, cool. So I made a chicken coop, and then I bought a little chicken. And then I go in and check on the chicken, and he's like, the chicken seems grumpy. I'm like, well, why the hell is the chicken grumpy? And it's like I had to build a silo to feed it, and I'm just like, oh, and so I'm like running around trying to make money to do that. And it's like, it's really just like but yeah, it's a lot of like self-driven, like you got to kind of figure it out on your own almost, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like in the realm of, I can definitely see it not being someone's cup of tea for sure, and to me it's soothing, and it's just like, okay, yeah.
I can definitely appreciate the quality and the labor put into it. I mean, obviously, this dude spent a ton of time, and he's not trying to build a spaceship to Mars. He's just like a guy. And I think we can all use more of that in the world these days.
I found a pretty like equal level of interest in most of these stories for different reasons. The game itself, probably Pillars of Eternity. That just because Infinity Engine stuff, I have such a huge history with. I think I played every Infinity Engine game there was, and just I've been aware of Obsidian from the start, and I've followed that studio's history, throughout all their stages. And so I think that one was probably like closest connected to my interest. Can you hear that? Sorry, there's a baby screaming in the background.
She's just running amok back there.
She is, yeah. So yeah, I think that just for my interests, I think that the Pillars of Eternity chapter lined up the tightest. I found the other ones really interesting for different reasons. At some point, I'll probably get into how angry the Uncharted and Dragon Age chapters made me, but yeah, honestly, I think that the one that probably fell the most flat for me was, I don't know, probably The Witcher, to be honest with you, and not because I don't like that game. I probably played that game more than any of the other ones that are in this book. I just didn't really find the story super interesting. Like to me, there was no real drama to it. There was no real.
Sure.
It was just kind of like, writ large, it's like it took these guys a long time to make a game, because they were trying to do something bigger than they had.
Right, because they tried to throw the kitchen sink into it.
Yeah. But there was no existential crisis of Stardew Valley, or unexpected crowdfunding success of Shovel Knight, or it was just like, we scoped it too big, and now we have to try to figure out how to make it. So but yeah, short answer: Pillars of Eternity.
Yeah.
And then you kind of know where Obsidian is now, and it's like how like our boy grew up, like, I mean, now they're like owned by Microsoft, and they don't have to worry about that sort of thing anymore.
What is the last game they did?
Outer Wilds 2, right?
Okay.
Outer Worlds 2.
Outer Worlds.
Oh yes, geez, that's a very different game. Yes.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, they do. They also, it doesn't help that they came out around the same time. But yeah, it was Outer Worlds 2. But then, I mean, they did, obviously Outer Worlds Part 1. They did Grounded is theirs.
Right.
They were kind of a support studio for a while, right?
Well, they were work for hire. So
Okay.
They were doing, like, they started doing stuff like KOTOR 2 and Neverwinter Nights 2. So they were even like, all these people who used to work alongside BioWare, like Obsidian got their start doing sequels to BioWare games that were generally regarded as not being as good as the were sequelizing, for different reasons. That's not really an Obsidian thing, but yeah, so they were doing just contract work for ages. And it wasn't until I don't, when did they really like hit it,
New Vegas, right?
I mean, that definitely helped them a lot. That also, I think, was a work for hire thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, that just kind of went back to that studio's history, because that's a whole bunch of people who used to work on the original Fallout games.
Right. It's funny because I didn't have the opposite sort of feeling with The Witcher. I thought The Witcher chapter was about something different than like the role of making a game, and which kind of speaks to like what I thought about the whole book. I thought it was going to be, considering kind of how the book's promoted and Jason Schreier's sort of investigative reporting, I thought it was just going to be about crunch, like I said earlier. But it was ultimately, but that was more like the framework for the book than it was like, oh, crunch bad. And so the Witcher chapter I thought was interesting because it really was an underdog story rather than about the struggle of making the game. It's like, hey, where are they, in Poland? Is that right?
Yeah, it's Poland.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, like no one looks to us for games. And I thought that chapter really is about the story of this company coming out of nowhere from a place that no one expected games to come from, and especially like how they just started as like a porting company, right? Like let's bring games over.
They were almost like a quasi bootlegger.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, they're like communists and they're bootlegging games, and now they're like legit. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story for the company. it was really I took taking a step back from like, oh, this is just a chapter about this company coming from nothing, becoming one of the biggest developers in the world, and for that I found the chapter really engaging and interesting.
Almost bootlegging games for Poland to walking Keanu Reeves out on stage at the Game Awards. It's like quite a big come up.
I agree. Well, and to consider too that The Witcher 3 was the third game they made themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was that big. It kind of stopped me in my tracks listening to that chapter when they kind of reminded you of that. Like, yeah, this is actually only the third game. And it's like, holy shit. And they did this. Like,
and The Witcher 1 and 2 were like, I remember hearing about them, but they weren't like huge games.
No, they weren't.
Not in the way that Witcher 3 became like genre defying title. I remember playing The Witcher 2, I think, at a PAX East.
Do you remember I accidentally exposed them at PAX East? Yeah, I remember. Part of the big thing with The Witcher 2 was this was also going to be the first Witcher game on consoles. It was on, I can't remember if it was Xbox 360 or if it was Xbox One, but so that was kind of a big deal for them too. And so we go to their booth, and all of their kiosks are set up with Xbox controllers. They're like, no, we're really demoing like the console, thing right now. And so like I walk up to it to play it because I had played The Witcher 1 and enjoyed it pretty much. And grab the controller, and I'm like, this is actually starting in kind of like the middle of the mission. I kind of want to see where this mission starts. So I'm just like going in through menus, and I'm just going like back. And all of a sudden I'm looking at a Windows desktop. And I'm like, oh, and like there was a guy standing there, like an employee standing there, and he
shot you twice in the back of the head.
Yeah. No, he sees what I'm doing, and he's like, oh, hey, hang on. And he like grabs the controller. I'm like, oh, you sneaky fuckers. That's why it was running so well.
Adam, I can assume I already know the answer to this, but what was your favorite chapter story of the game in Blood, Sweat, and Pixels?
Were you going to say Star Wars 1313?
I was going to say Star Wars 1313.
I say that's probably one of the funniest. I think for me, it was one of the like kind of like when they were trying to develop like, oh, it's our two unnamed bounty hunters, and then George Lucas is just like, nah, make it Boba Fett, and they're like, oh yeah, and he's like, yeah, I'm George Lucas, right? So you're gonna make it Boba Fett.
He's like, actually, whose name is on the building? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's LucasArts, right?
Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. When that came up, when they're like, oh yeah, and essentially George Lucas stuck his fucking nose in and had these mandates. I'm like, of course he did.
Yeah, like the main directive is never say no to George Lucas.
Right. Sorry, Adam. I didn't mean to step on your shit, but
no, you're good. It's all good. No, yeah, like we're gonna prep you with this interview. Just don't say no. Like, okay, like what? Oh boy. No, yeah, it was definitely interesting just because I kind of feel like it's really weird with Star Wars games. Like, they would just have so many good ones at once. Like, in the late 90s, they had like Rogue Squadron on 64, and they had those like X-Wing and TIE Fighter PC games, and then Knights of the Old Republic came out, and then it was just like Battlefront was okay, and everybody loves Battlefront 2, and it's a great game, and then there's just like nothing, it was like kind of weird. And that was definitely a huge letdown, I think, because that's like one of those ones I remember living like real time, like reading about it and hearing about it and things like that. And I would say interest wise, it wasn't surprising, what happened, because I knew what was coming, because we knew what happened, like they sold it to Disney and all that stuff. And it was just it kind of sucks that they just were like, nah, LucasArts is done. I mean, that was a huge bummer when that happened. And and I've really been, I'm like an original trilogy guy. So that's where like, I look to, is it as good as this? And like all these other things, it's like, but like the gaming side of Star Wars was always one of those things that was really good, and I was really disappointed when they, got rid of LucasArts and did that. But kind of piggybacking on that, I would have said Destiny was interesting as well, because I'm a huge Halo nerd. And I just thought, I felt so bad for Bungie after reading that, because they were just like, we don't want to be part of Microsoft anymore, and then this whole Destiny thing is just a mess, and it was like, the ideas changed so much, and I thought it was hilarious that they were like basically like "F you, Peter Dinklage, you suck," and like kicked him off the freaking game. It's like, man, it's Peter Dinklage. Like, what are you guys doing?
I mean, to be fair, he was terrible. Like, if you've ever heard those recordings, he's really bad.
The funniest thing, funny to somebody reading, maybe not funny if you were living it, is that these guys bet on themselves, broke off from Microsoft, and wanted to do something totally different than Halo.
Yeah.
and like originally it was like a sword and sorcery kind of game.
Yeah.
Like maybe even third person.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they just ended up fucking making a Halo game, really.
Right.
Like, because people wanted to join Bungie, and the employees, coders, developers wanted to make Halo games because that's what Bungie was known for.
Yeah.
And then they joined this project, and they're like, "Oh, this is like a Space Knights third-person game." They're like, "Well, I don't want to fucking make that. I want to make the Master Chief." All this shit with Activision and like a huge budget, and it just seemed like Destiny was a tire fire the entire time.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it too, they were saying that like, they were really just limited by what they knew how to do too. Like all they did was first person shooters,
Right.
And like their engine was like that, and their code and whatever. I mean, I'm not like, very tech savvy when it comes to programming or anything like that, but it just seemed like they kind of handcuffed themselves with just, working on that kind of game for so many years that eventually when you're like, I want to do something else, it's like, well, we don't really know how to do something else. And that's kind of what ended up happening, like, well, yeah, it can't be Halo, but it basically is. Like, it's not, it's different look, but it was really, I mean, I remember being super disappointed with Destiny. Like, there were some fun parts to it for sure. Like, he was saying, like, when you get people together and you go on like a raid, like that was always like a fun aspect of the game, but it just really didn't, it didn't like blow me away. It didn't wow me. And then like now after reading the story, it's like, oh man, no wonder, it kind of makes sense now, like the way it happened. So
well, some of that too was so I remember when when Bungie broke away from Microsoft, and I remember their whole thing. They're like, yeah, we're done. Like almost like, we're like,
right.
They're almost like Andy Dufresne at the end of Shawshank, like we're free, and they're like so pumped, and then it's like, wait, you signed up with who? You signed up with Activision? Like,
yeah,
you basically just went from one prison to another. Like, what the hell are you doing, Dufresne? Yeah,
and they signed this crazy contract that like stipulated constant updates and sequels, and like that's not the game they made anyway.
You guys are dumb. I'm sorry. Like you guys thought things were going to be better with Activision than Microsoft. Like you guys are dumb as hell. I'm sorry. I will say I really liked Destiny. I played Destiny with some friends, played a little bit of Destiny 2. I really enjoyed it for the most part. It was good. I wasn't like, going on like, crazy long raids and, playing it for like, hours every day, but I had some good fun with it. It was decent.
From what I understand Destiny 2 is much more successful, not necessarily in terms of money, but in terms of like being a better game. And so I'm happy they
and it's interesting that the franchise they left, Halo, also has had a crisis since then too, because there hasn't really been a huge Halo game. That whole kind of company has gone independent and has kind of floundered over several sequels now. It's like the curse of Halo or something. It's just stuck to stuck to Bungie and 343 at this point.
It's interesting because the book came out a few years ago, thinking about, and we've talked about this a little bit already, like where these studios are now. Like Bungie is kind of in a weird place. Just like every studio, but they laid off a bunch of people, and they're now owned by Sony. Is that right?
I think they have a stake in it.
Okay. Whereas I feel like Obsidian has definitely gotten just bigger, or at least more stable in the years since this book. But yeah, Bungie, it's like, I think we were talking about this before recording, or in our chat, like this is the Destiny chapter was the one I came out of not sort of cheering for Bungie. I felt like you guys got it done, but I don't know if you really learned the lesson that you're supposed to learn here, guys. But okay. And if anything, I feel like their performance since then kind of bears out, where they released a sequel But it feels like they've been stumbling over themselves ever since Destiny came out, or at least since Destiny 2. And
they released a poorly received Marathon remake.
Oh, right, yeah.
That had some like AI arts in it.
No,
No,
it had art. Basically, like its whole art style was essentially ripped from an actual artist.
Great.
So like even worse. Yeah. Like this artist who had like no interest in that shit basically was kind of like clued into it, and she's like, yeah, this is like some of the, even down to like some of the like labels or like decals in the game are just straight ripped out of her work. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's even worse than just using AI.
What about you, Chris? What chapter did you like the most?
The one I found most interesting, and it's fortuitous that you asked that because we haven't talked about it yet, is the Uncharted 4 chapter, which I thought was extremely interesting because it captures the studio at a very important point in its life.
Yeah.
It's developed by Naughty Dog, who is the Crash Bandicoot, studio. And they kind of reinvented themselves with the Uncharted series. And Uncharted is like a third-person action adventure game, cover-based shooter, kind of like a Tomb Raider. They're splitting off, right? They want to become the Last of Us studio, but they also have part of the team that wants to finish off the Nathan Drake Uncharted series. So they start this project. They previs, they develop, they have a whole bunch of story written for this Uncharted 4, and then halfway through they wipe everything clean. Which is it Neil Druckmann?
Yeah,
he comes in, he takes over the project, and kind of totally reshapes it from its original sort of context into a game that I think is really great. I think the final Uncharted 4 is excellent, and I would love to see more of what the original idea of Uncharted 4 was. But it gave us Uncharted 4 and it gave us The Last of Us, which is, two of the best games of PS4. So I thought it was a really cool look into a studio that is like right at the pinnacle of their powers.
No, I've never owned a PlayStation, so I've only played PlayStations like if I had a friend that had them or something. So unfortunately, I've missed like this whole like Uncharted hype and like all this Last of Us and stuff. But I'm at that point where I think I'm gonna get a PlayStation because now all those Xbox exclusives that I was like in love with are now they're going to PlayStation. So now it's just the matter of giving a PowerPoint to my wife and why we need to buy a PlayStation. So it kind of harkens back to like in the first episode when we talked about like having to show my mom that Mortal Kombat's not that bad. I gotta show the wife Rachel why like you should get a PlayStation 5 because can do on it. And
you also sit her down to watch all the fatalities in Mortal Kombat, which is weird.
Right? Yeah, it's like no, watch. See, this isn't that bad.
I didn't ask.
This will bring us closer together.
Yeah, it will, I swear. And like, one of the things is we play like those Jackbox party games, like Flash and stuff like that. So yeah, those are fun. But no, I mean, I definitely, like what I said earlier, like I downloaded Stardew Valley and started playing it, and I love that game. So yeah, a lot of these are on my radar now to get, and I'm just like, I really think if we're gonna get another console, like I'm just gonna go with the PlayStation because I can play. I really want to play The Last of Us. I mean, that's always like in the lists of like top 5 games of like all time, and in the chapter, he was saying like really Naughty Dog is known for its story time and its crunching. But like what Chris said, this is really like a studio at its pinnacle that could not possibly go any higher, and like what are they going to do with this game? And like it was really interesting what he was saying. So I'm definitely down with wanting to play it at some point just to see like how good it is and how fun it is and everything. But yeah, I have no experience playing any of these like PlayStation exclusive titles, unfortunately. So I'm hoping at some point that I could do that.
What you talked about there was the exact reason why I went to PlayStation after being in the Xbox 360 generation, right? I had PlayStation 1 and 2, but I went to the Xbox 360 because it was the hotness, right? But when it came to buying the next generation, it really came down to those exclusives. I don't play online games really, and so and Sony like is making all these wonderful first person games. Like even though I can't bring all the games over from my Xbox, I'm like this seems like the right choice for me. And yeah, it's
I did the same. I did the same jump from a 360 to a PS4.
Yeah.
I want to go into the chapter of the game that maybe had the worst experience. Well, maybe these last two actually. Diablo 3. I've never played much of a Diablo series,
Right.
but I vividly recall how much vitriol there was
Yeah.
when Diablo 3 launched, especially around like the auction house element of that game.
Yeah.
And I thought that the chapter in this book about the development of Diablo 3 was interesting because these guys were just absolutely blindsided
Yeah.
by the feedback that they got once the game launched. I want to know if you guys have any experience with Diablo or if you remember that feedback. Going to Dan first.
No, I was never really a PC gamer. But a lot of my friends were, and so I've seen Diablo being played a lot, but never played it myself. But I agree with you though, like that chapter, again, with each one kind of crunch being a lens or a framework for each chapter, like it's like, oh, this one really I mean the development itself was really stressful, but just the fixing of it was
Yeah.
where the shit really hit the fan for that company, and I felt super bad for them, yeah. But it did not make me particularly interested in playing it. I can tell you that much for sure.
Rock, what are your feelings? You've definitely played Diablo.
Yeah, I played the first two, way back, and really enjoyed them. I have never played 3. I definitely remember when all this drama started, around the cash auction house and stuff like that. And one of the things that I remember from that time was it felt like when the cash auction house came out, it felt like collectively people were like, number one, super not surprised this is happening in a Bungie or in a Activision game, Blizzard Activision.
Right.
Number two, why does it need to be a cash auction house? And I remember going through the book here and them kind of talking about, how do we fix this? Like, what do we do? And I thought it was kind of weird that their answer wasn't let's just revamp the auction house and just not have it be a cash auction house, like you could just because other games that they make, like World of Warcraft, have an auction house in them and it just uses in-game currency. There's no cash for that.
Right.
So I'm like, you guys have already done this before on a bigger scale. Why is your only, why does this have to be a binary choice that like either we have a cash auction house or we don't have an auction house whatsoever? Because I personally think that an auction house, if done well, like it is in World of Warcraft, is actually like a pretty fun mechanic to engage with, and it can be really cool. So I just thought it was really weird that they're like it had to be that way. We have to have, if we're gonna have this auction house, it has to be a cash auction house, and it's like, well,
it seems very much like a spiteful taking their ball and going home at a certain point.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, oh, you fuckers don't like this thing we spent half the development time on? Well, then fuck you. You don't get it.
Yeah, a little bit. That to me was definitely like, ooh, your Activision is showing a little bit there.
Right. There were several points in the development where the wrong decision was made, like the random generating of the items.
Yeah,
meant that frequently players would get items that didn't even match their character set.
Ooh, yeah.
And it just because what they wanted, and they won't admit it, is for you to sell that shit in the auction house and then put your real money in to buy things you need for your build out of your character, right? So then by taking apart the auction house, you had to go back and sort of redevelop the whole drop loot system, so you weren't just constantly getting stuck with things you couldn't even use in the game. So like it's almost like the word came down, you guys are putting microtransactions into this game, and then they sort of built very important parts of the game with that in mind. So they're ripping it out also like created more problems on top of the fact that when the game launched, all the servers crashed.
Yeah.
Like everything that possibly could have went wrong with Diablo did. And, at one time, Blizzard was hugely respected and loved company. And I would say they are definitely not these days. Adam, what were your thoughts on the Diablo 3 chapter?
Yeah, I remember all of that happening. And when I was in the Navy, a lot of my friends, they were still playing like Diablo 2, like around 2004, 2005, and they were really like into it still. And like they were saying, this people love this game. And I remember like the media backlash from Diablo 3. I remember seeing friends posting stuff on Facebook like, I hate this effing company, and what I mean. It's like it was so bad. Like, I mean, and that's what the chapter in the book was interesting because it didn't really talk about the problems of developing Diablo 3, like you guys said already. It was like, how do we fix this nonsense that we already did? And yeah, and like in some of the decisions were just mind-boggling. Like why?
Yeah.
And, even the whole microtransaction thing now. It's still a huge controversy in games. I remember when they redid Battlefront after Disney acquired all the Star Wars stuff and they put out Battlefront. Same thing happened. They were like and people lost it. They were just like, no, this sucks. There's microtransactions. I don't care how good the game looks. This one little thing like just blew it up, and then they had to fix it and do all this stuff, whatever. But yeah, no, it was just interesting. That was definitely one of the chapters I remember. Just like the utter disappointment people had when that game came out. I mean, it was like it was crazy. I just I can't imagine being a fan of that. Waiting 10 years for this final game to come out, and then all of a sudden you're like, bleh. And then I mean, it's almost as bad, I think, as like the Mass Effect. I mean, it's probably worse than the Mass Effect 3 Fallout with like all the stuff we did. It didn't even all the decisions I supposedly made that would affect the outcome. It didn't like it was whoa. But yeah,
right, because if you don't like that,
if
you don't like the ending of Mass Effect 3, it's at the end of the game. You've already played the whole game.
Right.
If you don't like the general conceit of Diablo 3, you're fucked because it's the whole game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, right. It was the whole. It wasn't just one little like the outcome. Like it wasn't in it's not always the end of the story. It's the journey. But yeah, there was like it wasn't even. It was like right at the start, like you said, even with like the servers crashing and what's this error mean? Why is there this error? And then it's just like the complete damage control. I mean, it was crazy. I remember it pretty vividly actually. So. Yeah, never played it though. I heard the first couple games were good, and the people I knew that really liked it, they swore by it, and then I guess Diablo 3, that definitely turned off any interest I ever would have had in playing that game. So
100%.
Yeah, you hit on an interesting point that I think haunts a couple of the chapters of this book, which is. As they were making the game, as we're reading it, we see them like, you're making a bad decision right now. What are you doing? What do you stop? Right. And what it is, it's like they were haunted by sort of the success of their previous game. They're like, it needs to be hard, like Diablo 2. It just needs to be more. It's Diablo. It needs to be Diablo 2 plus, right? And on the other side, we saw it was BioWare with Dragon Age. They were haunted by the failure of Dragon Age 2, and so they're making a bunch of decisions. And so like, it's weird how that. And I mean, and Bungie was haunted by the success of Halo, and a lot of this for those three companies. Like most of those decisions, for better or for worse, depending on the company and the success of the game, were made because of what the audience and what they thought the audience wanted or expected out of them.
Right.
And I mean, the interesting thing about this book is that all of the games featured within are sequels, except for the very tiny developer games.
That's a good
so
point.
That's the sort of thing. Like, you get up to your second, your third, your fourth game in the series, and you just have these colossal expectations and budgets that go along with them, and it seems like in game development and in a lot of business, you're kind of always chasing the dragon of doing better and record profits, and the numbers always have to go up.
Right. And so it was really interesting to see Blizzard's reaction there. It's a really interesting company. Someone should write a book about them.
Yes, perhaps Jason Schreier.
Yeah.
I've been formulating thoughts about a specific topic that are touched on most hard in the Dragon Age Inquisition chapter and I think the Uncharted chapter. And those thoughts are around crunch. Just a little bit of background to kind of let you know where my headspace is at right now, okay? I'm in a work situation right now where we are currently facing massive amounts of crunch. I think I worked like 55 hours this past week and like 7 days straight, just
Jesus.
stupid stuff. And it's all down to like 8 months ago.
One dumb fuck made a decision.
8 months ago, we looked ahead to now and said, "Hey, that's going to be a problem. We need to start taking steps now to do something about that, so that we aren't having to crunch." And nobody listened.
Yeah.
And so we were approached, and it was basically like, "Hey, so here are some things that we can do to get through this," and they were all really, really bad suggestions. And I'm not a big fan of saying like, "Hey, we're in a situation now. Here's what you should have done 8 months ago," because it's like, okay, well, that doesn't really do me any good right now.
Right.
But it's like, man, if only someone could have just seen this coming ahead of time, so we wouldn't only have bad options right now. So I say all that to say that I feel very much the same when it comes to hearing these stories about like insane crunch time on Uncharted and on Dragon Age Inquisition. And I'm going to use some facts interchangeably because I can't remember which chapter they're from. But you're talking about like, we've got people working 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. We've got people leaving the office at 2 a.m. and coming back in at 6 a.m. the next day. And that's happening for months on end. We've got people who are, we go, oh, well, hey, the publisher gave us an extra, 4 months or an extra 5 months. That's awesome. But that also means that we're going to be doing crunch for the next 4 months.
Right.
Strap in, everybody. And it's like, like what kind of inhuman meat grinder is this bullshit? Like,
right.
There's such a human cost to this, because it's like when you're in your 12th or 15th hour staring at a screen, you're not being as productive as you would be if you were fresh,
Totally.
And it's to me, it's just like such a failure of management that you end up in those kinds of situations. And I know we talked a little bit offline about it, and I firmly believe that they get away with it because these people are on salary. So it's like, yeah, if you work 40 hours or 100 hours in a week, we don't have to pay you any more money for that. So that's just free labor. And management gets paid either way. So like they don't fucking care. And I feel like it's such a like lizard brained, like this is the easiest first thing we can reach for to fix this problem, when it's like, if you guys had just kind of like scoped and planned things better ahead of time, and maybe not been so slavishly devoted to like release dates. And I feel like that's a big part of it too, is being so shareholders and release calendars and stuff like that, that you end up making these really awful decisions that really hurt people, like genuinely hurt people.
Yeah.
And it's, I honestly, I feel like if you said, if it was like a legal thing or a mandated thing, hey, these people need to be paid overtime, or hey, you know what? If you do have to mandate crunch management, you don't get paid. Something so there's a consequence, because there's no consequence right now for management to mandate this stuff. And it honestly kind of pissed me off, because I think that in both the Dragon Age situation and the Uncharted situation, you had both of those managers kind of saying a similar thing, where it was like, like, I wish it didn't have to be that way. Like, I wish there was a better way to do it, but we just can't figure it out. And I'm like, well, that's really easy for you to say as the person who has to, who's like, go do that. But it's like, and you're also kind of benefiting from them having to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, there are better ways. Granted, a lot of them come from smaller companies, but you've got companies like Supergiant Games, who famously is like, hey, it's 5 o'clock, go the fuck home. You're not answering work emails. You are done for the day at 5 o'clock. Hey, it's the weekend. These doors are locked. You know what I mean? Like, turn your phones off. Like, so it's like, you can't. There are ways to cut down on this, to curb this, but I think that there's no consequence. for doing it for crunching, and there's no real motivation or incentive on management's side to be any better about it. And it was just so frustrating to hear that stuff, because it's like, man, like, you guys are legitimately hurting people doing this, you know, and you, like, you might care, but it really doesn't sound like it at the end of the day, because it's like, well, we hit our release date, so, you know,
right,
it was worth it, I guess. Like, I don't know. That's it. That rant over. You know, maybe, I don't know.
Game development is a young man's game, really. Still.
No, for sure.
So I mean, you can just throw these kids, you know, fresh out of college, stars in their eyes, you know, like you said, in a meat grinder. And, you know, if you burn them out by the time they're 25, 26, who cares? Because there's a new crop of college graduates out there who you can throw at the sequel.
Right. And there's a psychological aspect of it too, right? It's like it's literally for the love of the game, right? You do it because you love video games. You want to make, and you love this game. And I can't remember which chapter it was, but one of the studio heads said, like, well, we didn't mandate crunch, but you know, like, you could have gone home at 5, but who's going to do that when you see everybody else? I mean, I would have. I'd be like, fuck all you. I'm going to go home.
Bye.
Yeah. But there's definitely a sort of like that guilt tripping of like, well, you know, Steve here is staying. You know, don't you want to stay? Won't you be like Steve? You like Steve. You want to help Steve. If you stay, you help Steve. Right?
That's such bullshit. Like, because you're totally right. Yeah, they're like, oh, we never told anybody they had to stay. And it's like, well, you did, but you didn't. Like, that's such bullshit.
It's the Japanese salaryman problem, right? You know, you
Yeah.
go into work and then nobody leaves because they're afraid of the boss seeing them leave, and then you have to go out drinking and doing the karaoke, and you end up passed out in the alleyway in your suit at 3 a.m. You know,
Right. And they always end up retiring and living a happy, long life, right?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, 100%. Yeah. But you're right too, because they do talk about in the book, like, hey, some of these people, especially like artists, are just so passionate that they want to stay, and it's like, I get that. I totally understand that, and I understand how that could create a group dynamic where it's like, oh well, shit, like, these guys are staying, you know, super late because they're passionate about it, and like, I want to be here to support them or whatever. And that's why I feel like, you know, mandates going the other way are kind of the only way to really stop that, where you're like, hey, like, it's 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. Like, get the fuck out of here, you know. Like,
weird, in the Witcher chapter, he said, like, you know, they didn't really mind doing the crunch because, like, Polish law made them pay them overtime for that. So I'm thinking, well, geez, are all these studios in the United States, are they all on salary, so they're not getting paid overtime to crunch? Like, that sucks.
Yes, they are. They're by and large, they're almost all salary in the U.S.
Oh,
so
man.
they don't have to pay them overtime. And that was when I heard that in the Witcher chapter, I was like, good for you guys, man. Like, that totally changes the game. Like, at that point, it's like, okay, cool. Like, if you're gonna pay these people extra money to stay late, like, I still don't think it's a healthy thing for people to work 80-hour weeks for extended periods of time. But at the very least, you're paying them to do it, so at least there's something there, you know.
Dan, one of the things that you brought up, and I actually didn't know myself, is that you spent some time at an indie developer.
Yeah, so it 2000 to 2002 or something like that.
Oh, that was Bloodfart 3D, right?
yes. And they use my face as the main character. It's pretty as an honor and a privilege, honestly. Blood fart.
I'm sorry.
Incredible. They're playing at Harlow's on Friday if you want to see them. They're really good.
Don't get in the front row though. You're in the splash zone.
Or if you do, bring a smock. Yeah, so I was at a junior college in their animation program, and they put out a call. So this company put out a call through this junior college. Well, didn't even put out a call. They just went to the art teachers and said, "Are there any folks you'd recommend to do an internship with us for the design and storyboards and animation?" And for some reason, they put me in the bucket. And it was a really small team. I think there were 3 artists and 4 programmers. It was for a company that never released a game. They called themselves Point Conception Studios, and it was run out of the garage of this dude's house. And it was a super fun time, but actually ends up being one of like the saddest memories I have. Basically because of how it ended. The story I tell people is that when they shut down, the contract I signed, I think it's been 100 years, but basically I didn't get to keep any of the art I made in the year and a half that I worked for them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had nothing to show for like a portfolio or to get more work. And so it was so depressing that I actually stopped pursuing drawing and art as a major, as a career. And I
You were doing
literally
character design art?
yeah, so I basically stopped drawing at all after that from for the next 5-6 years until I started doing comics. But yeah, so I was brought on to do character design and animation, but I've always been really bad at animation. They want to do hand-drawn animation. And so it was the company was called Point Conception Studios. I think the game was. I tried to find the pitch document, but I couldn't find it in the mess of my office here. But I think it was called Espionage, and it was going to be a real-time strategy game built around spies and a conspiracy. Oh, was it
That
just
sounds
called
kind of cool.
conspiracy? Yeah, it was a neat idea, and but I was really bad at animation. I really like doing the character design, and so they actually moved me on to storyboarding the cutscenes, which I really liked doing that kind of stuff. And I should have known then, like maybe I should try making comics.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like exactly your strengths.
Yeah. And the thing is, like the art team was really good. We worked really well together. We got a lot of the work done. But pretty soon, I'm saving about 6 months. The programmer's like, "Hey, you want to take a break and just play Unreal Tournament for like an hour?" And we all be playing against each other. I'm like, "Sure." And then all of a sudden, those Unreal Tournament games started happening more and more and more to the point where like they weren't doing anything, and pissed off the investors weren't happy with the progress that was being made or wasn't being made, and they eventually started they farmed themselves out to help design like this, I think like scoreboarding software for like high school like sports games. I don't know. I wasn't involved with that at all.
What?
I just kept coming in and was using their computers, and yeah, so it went out with a whimper, and it really cast a stain on doing art professionally ever. So like that's the Star Wars 1313 chapter kind of hit me hard, especially that note or the email that the studio had sent out to everybody at the very end. That game should have been made, right? And
Totally.
the concept that we had, the ideas they had, the art we were making, like we had a cool, interesting idea. I don't know what would have been successful at all, but it should have been made. But kind of like what you're saying, Rock, about just bad management, or as we talked about earlier, having management at all would have been really would have brought together or kept this group of dreamers and creatives on task to actually make it happen. But also it speaks to, I think what ultimately happened is that once they started making a game, the programmers are like, "Oh, that we are in over our heads here. It's really hard." And they made, it was a fun experience. I just wish it hadn't ended so poorly, to the point, where I basically stopped wanting to do art as a profession at all. And
would you say that your passion was killed by the crunch of it or the lack of management?
Lack of management. Yeah, well, I don't think we even got far enough to do crunch. It was very poorly managed, and I'm sure it's the same story that most indie or startup game developers can tell, right?
I think it's a story that anybody who's worked a job anywhere can tell, is that a lack of management is always the thing that kills you. Like, I've worked several shitty, low-paying jobs, and they always say that people don't quit the job; they quit the management. And I've definitely seen that happen many, many times. I mean, people will eat shit for a long time.
Yeah.
If they like their coworkers or they like the work they do, or they have some sort of idealistic, feeling towards it. But the minute that you put some ding dong in charge, it can absolutely kill any sort of motivation you have to accomplish anything.
Which speaks to Rock's idea of like bad management of a game, of any project and any any business. Not only harms the product that you're hoping to make, it harms the people, right? It wasn't the reason why, but shortly after that, I also dropped out of school, right?
Jesus,
and yeah,
this game
it was
fucking murdered your life.
not direct. A lot of other things happened at the same time, but generally, it fed what ultimately I realized was a depression that that I probably should have been more healthy about addressing. But only one person went on to work in a professional capacity around games or software development.
Hideo Kojima.
And his name was Hideo Kojima. He just wanted to have famous friends, no, and scan them all. But yeah, it was a weird experience. And this book, I should say, really brought back a lot of stuff that I'd actually forgotten about. Because of them talking about certain instances, certain events. I'm like, oh, it reminded me of these people who I have not thought about in 20 years. It was cool. This book was great, and it helped me deal with those those issues that I should have dealt with back then. Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you. I think that's a great note to wrap up our discussion of Blood, Sweat, and Pixels on. I want to. There actually are a few things I want to talk about at the end of the show here. The Game Awards were just this past week as we're recording. I don't know what you guys reading this book pretty recently, seeing the Game Awards, new games are being announced, kind of having this sort of idea in mind. What did you guys see at the Game Awards that you thought was interesting? Did you do you see anything that is probably going to disappoint or not come out? I loved the God. What is the name of it? The dog game.
Oh yeah,
The Good Shepherd, or is that the movie? The Fair
That's a good
Shepherd?
question. Something like that. As you do that was the game that I think stood out the most to me. There's that other game about it's a satire on game development, which might be interesting to play after reading this book.
Bucky the Badger?
Yeah. Where there's like a Bloodborne stage, and but it's also like playing up the idea that you're going into stages and they're showing like unfinished assets, and the mechanics behind the game is you actually messing with the actual structure of the game to traverse and stuff like that, and I'm guessing do combat and whatnot. But it looked really interesting.
It did. It had a good premise. That dog game is called The Free Shepherd, and it's a herding simulator, I guess. It looks really great.
Yeah, with like weird stuff going on, and
it's got some sci-fi sort of stuff going on, and it's being developed pretty close by to us here on the East Coast in Burlington, Vermont. Believe it or not.
There you go.
Who knew? And it's dated for 2027, which actually gives me kind of good feelings that they're going to take their time and polish this game. It looked very similar to like a Team Ico sort of graphics.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of like a hazy sort of, like dreamlike sort of animated thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that looked really cool. It was probably dwarfed by some of the bigger reveals from the Game Awards. Rock, did you see any trailers since then?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the new Star Wars game, of course, what is it? The Casey Hudson one, something Old Republic. Fate of the Old Republic.
Yes.
That of course looks like it's going to be great. Casey Hudson, as everybody knows, Mass Effect. So
KOTOR.
Yeah. So that, of course, that looks like it's going to be pretty fucking cool. And Control Resonance.
Oh, yes.
It just just watching that trailer, it reminded me of how awesome Control was.
So fucking cool.
And it kind of I don't know, it looks different enough in terms of how it plays from Control that it looks because when I first heard there's a Control sequel, I had kind of mixed feelings about it, because I'm like, well, the world and the lore of Control is really cool, but the game, while the gameplay was good, I was like, I don't know if I could really go in for a whole other game if it's going to be the same gameplay, you know. But seeing that trailer, we talked offline a little bit about it, but it looks like it's more melee focused, and I couldn't really tell if it was going for more of like a Souls-like kind of combat or a more kind of like fast-paced, kind of like power move, kind of like Devil May Cry kind of combat.
that's the vibe I was getting, like a Devil May Cry sort of like action game.
That was how it felt to me too, and that would be really cool if that's the way they go. I feel like we've done Souls-likes enough, and those are fine, and they're a lot of fun. But I feel like it's been a minute since we've had a really decent like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta type game that like was that big, So yeah, that those were the two big ones for me, and of course love that Claire Obscure swept and just like dominated everything. That was amazing. I hoped it would, thought it might, and yeah. You dated Claire Obscure in high school, right, Chris?
Yeah, she was cute, but she had this dead tooth.
yeah.
So you know that went. Adam, what was your takeaway from the Game Awards?
Well, obviously, I have a boner for the Star Wars game. That's really all that I can think about at this point. But see, the lot for me, because I'm such a huge Star Wars nerd. I just hope that means we're still getting the remakes of Knights of the Old Republic and 2, and I just hope that they don't tool it too much, because I was really impressed with like the story aspects of it when it came out.
Sure.
All those years ago, and like they kind of, I mean, I don't know if you got, I mean, if you were a huge fan of the game, you'd probably notice this, but a lot of properties that are like, in the Star Wars canon now, like even if you're watching like Andor, when like Luthen's like being his little like antique dealer facade or whatever, he even mentions like, oh yeah, this is a relic from the Rakatan invasion of like 10,000 years ago or whatever, which is a huge backstory of the Knights of the Old Republic. So they're like shoehorning some like little Easter eggs here and there on it. So I'm hoping that they don't change it too much, and I just hope that it does it justice. And it's mind-boggling that it's like, oh yeah, it'll come out in 2030, and I'm just like 2030. That doesn't even. But at the same time, I'm like, after reading this book, I don't know if it's going to be 2030, because they're probably crunching right now to get it out in 5 years. But that's really the biggest thing for me, of course, is and my whole belief in Star Wars as general is really tied to the fate of this game, which is hilarious. No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it looks like it does tie into it, because in the background, she's walking up to this like wrecked ship, and that ship is the Leviathan, which is like Darth Malik's flagship in that game. So there was a book written called Revan by Drew Karpyshyn, who was like the main writer on like Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic. They kind of talked about what happens after those two games and what happens to Revan and all this stuff. So I'm wondering if they're gonna pull him back in or take elements of that, or if they're just gonna Dave Filoni it and just do whatever he wants with his story. I don't know.
And there was also a pod racer trailer too, oddly enough.
Yeah,
did you see that?
I did. Yeah, I did see that. I'm not a huge fan of racing games, but I am definitely intrigued by this, because it's like it takes place after the original trilogy, right? Or is it? Or am I wrong? I can't remember.
No, you're right. It takes place like they show like the Battle of Jakku sort of.
Oh yeah,
happened.
The backdrop. Right?
Yeah.
And
I did see old man Sebulba.
Yeah, I did see that. That's pretty nifty that they brought him back. So yeah, I might actually take a look at that too. Like I said, not a huge fan of racing games, but I am intrigued with what they're gonna do with it. If it's just gonna be strictly like a racer, or if there's gonna be some other aspect to it too. But
all right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Episode 002 of the Text Adventure podcast from the Text Adventure Book Club. We're going to wrap it up, go around the room, talk about what we're playing, what we're seeing, what we're reading, what we're watching. Rock, what are you into?
Well, right after I finished listening to Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, I listened to the first Mass Effect audiobook, Revelation.
Oh, really?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really cool. It was really fun. It's all David Anderson. Like you're all, it's all just David Anderson and Saren, and it was fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Drew Karpyshyn is awesome. This is the first book of his that I've read / listened to, and so I'm just keep on with other audiobooks. I'm on Dune Messiah right now, and
Wow,
yeah, Dune.
going big.
Yeah, yeah. I figured I should check out Dune because two of the things that I've heard most consistently about it are that it is one of the most important, fascinating sci-fi novels of all time, and that it's also boring as hell. And having listened to the first Dune audiobook, yes, to both of those things.
How many hours long is the first Dune audiobook?
It's not that bad, honestly.
No, really.
Yeah. I think it's only probably like 9 or 10 hours or something like that. It's
Really?
yeah. It's not as long as you might think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out, doing playing games, doing my thing. Yeah, I'm doing a radio drama soon. It's the return of Stanley Cavendish, the Cavendishing. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm also doing I'm gonna go to an open mic here soon, and I'm gonna read the unabridged novel of Stephen King's The Stand. So
good.
Holy moly!
Just so you know, the audiobook of The Stand unabridged is 48 hours long. So
Oh boy.
I heard they're actually scanning you for the lead character in Bloodfart 4D.
yeah, actually, yeah.
So that's quite a coup.
Yeah, I don't know how they found me, but let me tell you, that new scanning technology is pretty detailed. So
I don't know why you had to get nude, but you
I mean,
did.
it's in the name. It's in the name, man. I'm a method actor. I'm a method guy. What can I say?
Dan, what are you into?
I just wrapped up Ghost of Yotei, and so I'm kind of in a weird space where I'm looking for a new game to play. But with that in
Did you
mind,
100% it?
no, there's
No? Okay.
there's some side quests there that are kind of bullshit. So I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. But incredible game. I really liked it.
Did you like it more than the original?
Yes, I think it's a better game than the
Wow.
original. Yeah. But other than that, like I finally spun up a game that I heard a lot about. I like the company's previous games, but I never played, and then that game is Hades. And I haven't played much of it, maybe an hour and a half, but I'm like, oh, I get what people are saying about it. It is a fun kind of just like, oh, just one more try, one more run, and but you always are opening up more stuff and improving your stats and stuff like that. It always feels like I could just do one more round here and see how it goes. But it's as is expected. Is that Super Giant? Is that them?
Yes.
Yeah. They as always, the music is great. The voice acting and writing is great. The art is fantastic, and I just like it's. I'm like, oh yeah, I love these games, and I'm always happy to play them. But I don't know how much this game will stick with me. The sort of run based roguelike stuff has its limits for my attention.
Yeah, agree. Adam, what are you into?
Ooh, buddy. Well, as we mentioned before, I downloaded Stardew Valley, so I'm playing that. Just
Right.
planting my crops and making some gold. Also playing Fallout Shelter on my mobile device.
Oh, nice.
Is it's pretty fun. Interesting with the using the what do you call it, the Vault Boy animation is kind of like the backdrop for the whole thing, which is pretty funny. Especially when you're like fighting raiders and they're just grinning at you. It's like whatever. Anyway, so playing those two things. Reading the book Babel by R.F. Kuang. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I apologize. I read her Poppy War trilogy and was completely devastated by that trilogy. So I'm hoping to be just as equally devastated by this book. I'm not really sure.
Nice.
And then I'm just watching Christmas movies now, I guess. I'm not really watching.
Hell yeah. What's your go-to Christmas movie?
There's a couple, like obviously Christmas Vacation's one of them. We always try to stick an elf somewhere. Family tradition, we watch Home Alone on the night of Thanksgiving to kind of like kick off the season. Those are for some reason I really like the Tim Allen Santa Claus movie, just the first one though. I don't know what it is. It's like must be like some kind of nostalgia, but yeah.
It is technically a Thanksgiving movie, but you can always watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
love that movie. I love that movie.
I'm invested in the fate of your chicken in Stardew Valley, so I want an update next time. Next time we record.
He's grumpy right now. So hopefully he gets full grown and doesn't die, and I can get eggs out of him. So we're gonna see what happens. But maybe I'll get him a little chicken buddy too. So
yeah,
that could be why he's grumpy too. He's all by himself. I gotta get him another little chicken buddy. So.
What about you, Chris? What are you playing?
So the thing I'm into, and I know Dan will want to talk a lot about it, is I played Stray.
Hell yes.
The cat adventure post-apocalyptic sci-fi game came out a couple years ago, and I've had it for quite a while, but I finally was like, I've heard this game is short-ish, and I'm in the mood for this sort of game. And I was expecting it to be shorter, and I actually went in pretty blind. I knew there was like a robot thing to it, but I didn't know the entire conceit of it, which is that there's no more humans.
Right.
And man, this game is so fucking good. I cannot recommend Stray enough. It's probably my 2019 game of the year whenever it came out. Retroactively. Everything about the game, the art is beautiful, the graphics are beautiful, the fidelity, the controls, the story. I cannot recommend Stray enough. I was so blown away. And sometimes I play a game and I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of ready for this to end, And I never felt that playing Stray. I just wanted to continue seeing and exploring that world. I think it is one of the best designed, most cohesive games and settings I've seen in a long, long time.
That's the thing that really struck me with the game. I've played that game I think 5 times, just for fun, and it's the world building of that game. It was so unexpected but so well that I just wanted to be in that world. I loved the idea you could just find a place and take a nap. And there's a point towards the end of the game, no spoilers, I guess, but you have unlocked something, and you're just kind of watching something slowly happen, and something very sad just happened to make that happen, and that you can just lie down and just let the sunlight in. And there's times where I'm like, I just want to be here, like why go out, it's an incredible game. I even bought the limited run. I think that's the name of the company, like physical release of it, because it came with a poster and shit. That game, especially considering how it was marketed, or at least how media talked about it, like it's the cat game. That's what they kept saying, right?
It could have been anything,
right? And I think it sold really well.
It could have been a robot itself, but
right,
saying the cat game is definitely shortchanging it.
Right, and I think it sold really well because it's the cat game. I wonder how many people actually kept playing it because it's like this really dark sci-fi game.
Right.
They want to just be what's the Cat in the City or something like that. There's like a since then a cat game where you just walk around the city like knocking pots off the shelves and stuff like that. But I think that's what people wanted it to be. But it was so exciting to see that it was something so different and something so much deeper and thoughtful. It's an incredible game. I think I talked about it on a different podcast somewhere. I think it's a game about communication, and especially as a character that literally can't communicate. I thought it was really, and one of the buttons is a meow button, right? Which is an attempt to communicate. It's a fascinating game. And now, just talking about, I'm like, I should go play it again. But yeah, I'm really glad you played it, Chris. I'm really especially glad that you liked it.
I am so happy I played it too. And I know Pat's played it too. I know he's been thinking about getting into it and finally did. And man, just like you were saying, the end of that game is so like triumphant.
Yeah.
In a way. Also very, bittersweet.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's only, I don't know, what would you say, 6 to 8 hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's afternoon worthy. And I don't know if I've played a better game front to back this generation maybe than Stray. All right. Before I wrap up the end of the show, thanks everybody for joining. We'll announce our next book, but I do want to give Dan Bethel a platform to announce his Kickstarter for real.
I want to announce my new book, Blood Fart. It's going to be a tragedy. It's going to be an epic family drama. No, so I have right now. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's not a Kickstarter. I got a pre-order going for the final Long John book, where for $20 you get the book signed. You get I'm going to get some mini prints with that art from the book and guest artists that I've commissioned. I'm going to get and you're going to get adoration from me. But it's a great time to pick it up and especially to pick up the whole series if you haven't done that yet. So you can check that out at longjohnbook.com. There's also an add-on option to get the artist edition where I will draw a custom Long John sketch for you that you can have and hold forever. And next year I'll probably be doing a Kickstarter. I've never done a Kickstarter before. I'm terrified, but to collect the book or the entire series into one book. So this last book is a limited run, mostly for people who want to complete the set. So if you want to wait for the big collection, that will be coming along in 2026. But you can go to Long John Book right now to pick up your copy of Volume 6.
Do you have any sort of like scope or ideas of what you want to do with the big book?
No.
Like page count, hardcover?
Oh, there's definitely hardcover would be nice. I know I want to do an epilogue for the entire story. That'll be about 10 or 12 pages. I might do some commission some short stories from artists. That'd be fun to do. Yeah, just telling other people's stories and that are sort of tangential to the main story.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very least, collect everything, some behind the scenes, sketch ideas stuff. But yeah, it'll be more than just the books collected. It'll be kind of a final statement on this thing I've been working on for 11 years. So keep an eye out for that. I'm excited for it. So
Sweet.
Thank you for giving me the platform. Get it now, longjohnbook.com.
And our next book, if you guys want to join us, is going to be Boss Fight Books GoldenEye 007. It's a behind-the-scenes look at the development of the Rare Nintendo 64 game, the game that kind of introduced first-person shooters to the mainstream. This is the first book I haven't read a single page of before we read it, so I'm looking forward to it. I like the Boss Fight book series. Excited to get into this. I think it'll be a fun little detour to focus on one game, one book specifically. All right, thanks everybody, and see ya.